What is good, everybody? Welcome to day 2 of the NFL Draft here on the Gold Standard Podcast Network and the 49 Carats YouTube channel. I'm Rob Stats Guerrero. She's Steph Sanchez. Steph, I can see the look on your face. You do not look like a happy woman right now.
Well, I was just, obviously tracking the small bit of runs. First, it was the runs on defensive tackles, which I thought is great for the 49ers because I don't think defensive tackle is that big of a need for the 49ers right now. And so what it means for them is that either corner or, offensive tackle could start falling to their pick in the 63 range. Then we saw a bit of a run for corners, which I'm like, okay, a lot of those guys I would have liked for the Niners, but it's okay. I think I'd rather them get a tackle with their second round pick. And then the run on tackles is going on right now. And a number of guys that I think the 49ers would have been interested in have gone. Patrick Paul, Zach Frazier, I'm seeing reports now that the Chiefs are interested in getting an offensive tackle. If the Chiefs move up for a tackle, they're taking Kingsley if he is there. And you best believe they are trying to move up ahead of the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows the 49ers needs a tackle, except for the 49ers. And that's the problem. So, they're going to stand pat at 63 is what it's looking like. And they're not going to get the pick that we want them to get. It's a problem.
Which again, doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad pick, but when you're sitting here watching it as a fan, it feels like right now that they are just sitting on their hands doing nothing. They may be calling people furiously trying to move up, but here's the thing. When the 49ers want something, they get it. They're willing to pay ridiculous prices for things. They traded 3 firsts and a third for Trey Lance. They traded a second, third, fourth, and a fifth for Christian McCaffrey. When they want it, they get it. And I seem to remember somebody on this network saying,
buckle up, buddy.
That was you. Unfortunately.
What was that for? What was that reacting to?
Well, I don't remember specifically what you were reacting to, but I thought it was going to be like, buckle up. The Niners are about to do something cool. Trade Debo, do Ayuk, whatever. Nope. Buckle up. Just sit there and watch all these picks come off the board. It is excruciating right now.
Buckle up for a nap, bucko.
Brace yourself for sleep. Hey, you know what?
Brace yourself to be bored.
At least the picks are coming off the board. Right? I thought we were going to get going like an hour and a half later. So
they are flying. Look, the Lions just took Ennis Rakestraw, who I think could have been an option for the 49ers at corner. Again, some of these corners are starting to go off the board in this round. Cole Bishop, who is a safety I liked actually, also got drafted a few picks ago. But basically what that does mean for the 49ers is, as of right now, they're, these couple moves right before them to me is good because it temporarily stops the run on tackles. That's not to say that another team like the Chiefs or maybe even another team, doesn't make a move ahead of them. But if they can't work something out, because why would anyone want to help the Chiefs in the first place? The Bills apparently, well, let's see. Okay, so the Ravens are on the clock. 49ers are after them. So
don't like it. I don't like the Ravens being ahead of the Niners. And I had this thought too, Steph, with Adam Peters in Washington, and you've got, DeMeco Ryans, and then the former 49er staff in Houston. There's a lot of former 49er staff that is out there. So I feel like there are more teams than ever picking the same types of people that the 49ers would be interested in.
Absolutely.
They are going to have to evolve and change the things that they look for in players because there's just too many teams looking for the same thing.
Ravens just got Rosengarten.
God damn it.
But you got Kingsley. See, and to your point, Rob, if the 49ers really liked Rosengarten, they would have moved up to get him. Because we've seen them move up for guys that they really want, and they don't want to risk another team getting. They knew there was a risk of another team getting Rosengarten just because we've seen the run on tackles happening right now. So clearly, maybe they were okay with Rosengarten or Kingsley, knowing that at 63, one of those two guys would be available. So let's see what happens here for the 49ers. Now that we know who the Ravens pick, the 49ers will officially be on the clock, and hopefully it's for a tackle.
Gameplan.exe watching on Twitch. Shout out to the Twitch fam. Says drafting right after Baltimore is just like me playing a game where my turn is right after my wife. I resign myself to take the L. Here's the thing. We have an expression in our family. I don't know if it's a word in our family. I don't know if it's that universal thing, but we call it the Scartines. The way you're talking, like the 49ers are just taking the Scartines. They're taking what's left. They're letting everybody pick offensive linemen, and we're just going to be happy with whatever happens to fall to us. I don't know if that's a good strategy. I really don't. And again, they may be trying to move up and they may be failing, but it just feels extremely, extremely frustrating because we all feel like offensive line is such a big need for this team. And they, like you said, they had the picks. They could have moved up. And yet here we are. We're just sitting on our hands and all these offensive linemen are coming off the board.
Well, the 49ers are on the clock. So like I said, there's a tackle. They're available for them. If they get Kingsley, I would feel really good about these first two picks. So all that to say that they probably won't get Kingsley because that's exactly who I'm expecting them to get right now. So I guess we'll wait and see. But as soon as I see this pick come through my Twitter timeline, I will let you guys know.
Simon on the clock says, are they really going to use all these picks and end up having to cut them anyway? That's the thing. Like, there's no point.
That's why I thought they would move up.
And obviously, we didn't get a Debo trade. We didn't get an Ayuk trade. We can talk about that in a minute, after we diagnose whatever the pick is here. But yeah, like there's not 9 roster spots open on the 49ers. And I don't know. I'll be very interested to hear what they say afterwards about the offensive line. If they don't go, what if they don't go offensive line here, Steph? What if they go corner or somewhere else? I think there's going to be an open revolt.
They could go corner. Corners, like I said, there has been a run on corners throughout this round. So I wouldn't hate it. I mean, Drew Phillips from Kentucky is one of the guys who they had 30 visits with. He would make sense. He's a nickel corner. But again, it could be either or, corner or tackle. I just feel like there's probably better corners in the 3rd round you can target than there might be tackles. But I don't know. There's also Keaton Wallace, from Penn State, who could maybe go in the 3rd. They could grab him if they go corner here or a different position.
Man, I thought the Rosengard, I thought it was shaping up.
Wait.
Yes.
The Chiefs are on the clock.
Did
the 49ers just trade with the Chiefs?
Why is everyone helping the Chiefs? The Bills helping the Chiefs. Now you're telling me the 49ers traded back one spot. Kansas City is on the clock.
You gotta be kidding me. Okay, Rob, so if this is the case, Chiefs are about to take Kingsley. The 49ers know this.
Mm-hmm.
They're 100% okay with this. So they have just told us they're not taking a tackle with this pick. So
if this ends up being a good player, you're going to have Kyle Shanahan not scouting Patrick Mahomes and letting him go to the Chiefs, losing 2 Super Bowls to the Chiefs. Now you're trading down in the draft, letting the Chiefs leapfrog you to potentially take a position of need.
Or as Matt Barrows just tweeted, like, this could suggest that they wanted Rosengarten. We're expecting him to last that one more pick after the Ravens.
But you don't sit and hope. You go up if there's any doubt.
And they had the ammo. They had the ammo to make it happen. That's what I don't understand. Maybe they tried. They were unsuccessul. I don't know.
Niners are now on the clock again. Has Kansas City made their pick yet?
Who the Chiefs get?
I don't know. I haven't seen that yet. I think whatever like Twitter or thing you're watching is ahead of me, which is frustrating.
Yeah, it's I'm on Twitter. If you don't mind me tipping the picks, I could tell you who they got.
I have a sneaking suspicion that we are not going to be happy with the 49ers
exactly
pick.
Who I said they would get, and they've had interest in Kingsley, so not surprising. So the 49ers, so the Chiefs get 63 and a 6th from the 49ers for 64 and a 5th. Hey, they might be cooking with gas there. They got an extra 5th round pick.
They're loading up. I mean, John Lynch did say on KMBR yesterday, he joked, "Oh, we're gonna get every pick in the 5th round." I mean, like, are you really that much better by an extra 5th round pick? Like, why are you trading with the, like, that's just really weird to me. Like, what are you going to do with that extra 5th round pick this year?
I don't know.
I don't know. Oh, it's Kingsley. Chiefs
Yep.
just went Kingsley.
Yep.
That,
So again, that tells you obviously the 49ers didn't want him. If they wanted him, they would have picked him there. So that's an interesting one.
I really wanted Kingsley. When I talked to Michelle, he was on my list of guys I wanted. He had incredible. He had double-digit members of his family play professional football. That's an insane amount of athletic ability in that bloodline. He's I'm going by Dane Brugler here, but supposedly he's an eager brawler. The line out of Dane's draft guide that was so great was, quote, delivers more pancakes than Denny's. Like, why are we helping the Chiefs? You need offensive linemen. I mean, man, they better be right that all these guys are not good, because it is going to be a
we know they're not going offensive linemen now.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
So, okay, what position could they be looking at right now? I say defensive line or a corner could definitely be in the cards.
Rel 2-time 407 on Twitch says they're going running back.
I would flip a table. I would flip a table, quite literally.
I mean, Suamate, how do you say it? Suamatea? I think that's
I've heard so many. I've heard like 5 different pronunciations. I say Suamatea, but
I'm stunned. I just think that sometimes they outthink the room. I think they tried to do the smart thing by shoring up the offensive line, by running it back and putting themselves in a position where they didn't have to take offensive line. But that doesn't necessarily mean you shouldn't have had the urgency to address it. Again, what are you doing with all these picks? Now they just got another pick. Great. Another 5th round pick. I mean, damn. At least if you're going to trade with the Chiefs, maybe you try to get a better pick for next year. I don't know. I hate this.
Maybe they plan to move up in the 3rd. I don't know.
But like, were you going to move up in the 3rd for an offensive lineman?
I don't know. I know at some point they're probably going to target Sione Vaki. And I have a feeling they will reach for him compared to the consensus. But we'll see.
Easy Tino says, do the Chiefs have tapes on Kyle or something? This is ridiculous. Let's see. I'm seeing is the pick in for the Niners? Some people in the chat are saying
I haven't seen anything yet.
I haven't seen it either. I hate this that I'm so behind people. Why can't we all be
okay, wait. It's in. Okay. I like this pick. With the number 64th pick in the NFL draft, the 49ers are taking Florida State cornerback Renardo Green. So they go corner. He is a good corner. I haven't watched a whole lot on him, but people that I trust their eye on film have said he's a really good underrated corner. So I like this. I don't mind this at all.
Renardo Green, of course, another guy. The 49ers have just decided that they're going to draft people that I have not made graphics for, which I really appreciate. Florida State. He is 5'11", 186 pounds. He ran a 4.49 40-yard dash. I would like a little bit faster out of a corner. I'm just going to read from the Brugler draft guide because, again, I'm not going to pretend to know about him. Some of the strengths: patient and controlled in press man coverage, smooth turn and run movements with above average body control to react to route breaks, quick to key on routes and feel combinations around him. Okay, let's get to some of the weaknesses. Average size and speed by NFL standards, quicker than fast and not going to close the gap on vertical routes once the receiver gains a stride of separation, and grabby at the top of routes and has moments of panic, flagged a total of 11 times the last 2 seasons. Steph, I don't like that because I feel like that's the problem they have with Ambry Thomas, right? The ball comes, he's right there, and he freaks out and starts grabbing people and they get a flag.
He has 14 PBUs last season. That was most in the ACC. Just trying to balance out the negative stat with
Right.
the with a good one.
Mhm.
So looking at the Dane Brugler draft guide, he was noted as a fourth round grade there. So far, I haven't seen anyone say it's a reach, but
So Dane says Green is a polarizing prospect among NFL teams because he doesn't have desired size, speed, or ball tracking skills and won't be a fit for every scheme. But his play personality and ability to quickly find his balance mid coverage helps him stay connected and will give him a chance to earn meaningful role in an NFL secondary. I mean, the sentence doesn't have desired size, speed, or ball tracking skills or fit with every scheme. That's pretty damning first part of that sentence right there.
well, I will say, like, I think Brennan Staley has a lot of influence in the decision making
Mhm.
or who they bring in on defense, and so maybe there's something they envision, something they like with Renardo Green. So I'll let it play out.
I just got a text from Michelle Majuk, who, of course, is a host here with us at Gold Standard and a researcher at NFL Network. She says, brutal pick. They are struggling. First guy drafted that wasn't in Daniel Jeremiah's top 150 overall prospects. It's probably not a good sign. It doesn't make me feel good. Doesn't mean it's a bad pick, but it is a little scary. Daza0187, YouTube channel member, says, I'm so glad we're in a Super Bowl window. Also, if we wanted a corner, we could have taken DeJean or Kool-Aid McKinstry. Both of those guys were part of the run earlier in round 2. I don't know. I mean, they could have drafted those guys in the first round. They didn't want to do it. They could have had an offensive lineman. They didn't want to do it. Now the guy they're taking, again, I know people said this about Pearsall too, right? Everybody feels like you could have got this guy later. Does that apply to Green? I don't know.
What I do think the 49ers are maybe focusing on or trying to avoid in this draft is taking guys who have any injury questions attached to them. AD Mitchell, for example. I mean, you saw how far he slid. I mean, that's part of the injury concerns with him. Cooper DeJean, even at the start of the second round, which a lot of people probably thought he'd go in the first few picks, even at the start of that, like, he slid a little bit further too. Injury concerns, right? Johnny Newton as well. He wasn't the second defensive tackle taken. I mean, you saw Rook go before him. So I think some of that is part of the reason that maybe we see the 49ers going with guys who don't really have an injury history like that. Like, I'm looking at the draft guide right now, and I don't see anything listed for him as far as injury goes. I know it was the same with Ricky Pearsall, so that seems to be big for them. With some of the picks they've made so far, which I like, because, like, injuries are a risk, and taking guys who have some injury history, you are taking a risk there.
Yes, availability is important, but it can't be your only ability. Matt Miller of ESPN says 49ers fans love that the front office is attacking needs. Values off based on my board and consensus boards. We'll see how it shakes out. Front office doesn't have a great track record drafting away from consensus. I will say this, Steph. It is clear now that the 49ers do not ever agree with consensus. They value players way differently than the consensus. They drafted a kicker in the 3rd round last year. That is all the proof you need. Whatever their system is, whatever their ranking system is, it is not lined up with the consensus. And again, that doesn't mean it's bad, but most of the time, the consensus is usually better than any one individual NFL team. So we'll have to see how it shakes out.
Malachi Corley, who's dubbed the Debo 2.0, just went to the Jets. So that's seems like a fit, for that offense.
David Lombardi, and look, David Lombardi he's a cheerleader for the Niners at times. But if you want, that perspective, you're looking for something a little positive. He just tweeted Corner has been a position of need for the Niners as their top 4 at the position are only under contract through next year. Lynch and company like how Green has been able to translate his skill set across both safety and corner. The 14 pass breakups tell a story. Green is more instinctive than pure fast. Seems like they got a lot of that in the secondary, right? Talanoa Hufanga, great instinct, can't run. Like, there's a lot of teams getting some speedy wide receivers. I hope we're going to be able to keep up.
I'll say this though, it's better to be right and a little slower than fast to the wrong spot,
Right.
So that's sound if that's the route they want to go. Again, like Brad Graham of the SF Niners, he was a huge fan of this one. I need to watch him more, Renardo Green, to really form an opinion on him. But I always, just the kind of fan that I am, I will always try to talk myself into the pick. I'll try to make it make sense. What were they thinking when they made this pick? It's how I try to look at it. But we'll see. I mean, because I feel like sometimes I'm kind of critical of, when I watch some guys too. So we'll see.
I don't like the lack of urgency on the offensive line. I really don't. It's incredibly frustrating. And you're trading down. And then on top of that, you trade down with the Chiefs. And like, look, the Ravens, great. They made them. That's the guy you want. Don't let it come down to that. Hope is not a strategy. I don't like the idea of you were just sitting in your draft room hoping that the guy fell to you. Go get the guy. What are you doing with all these friggin' picks? They're going to pick a bunch of guys tomorrow that are not going to make the team.
Well, I mean, to your point, Rob, on not addressing the offensive line, look, I do think corner was a need, so I understand taking a corner here. I do still think they should, look at tackle and this being like a really tackle heavy draft. This would be the year to kind of address it appropriately, given that you can take your tackle of the future after Trent Williams. You can bring some competition for Colton McKivitz. I mean, why wouldn't you do either of those things, right? If you're trying to make your team better, if you want to protect what's going to be your biggest investment in Brock Purdy. And we just saw the NFC West, bring in every NFC West team yesterday, except the 49ers, of course, drafted a defensive lineman. So, I mean, that should just underline the need going forward to shore up the offensive line a little bit better. So we'll see what they do. I mean, they have another pick in this day. It is round 3, pick 94. They have a plethora of round 4 picks, 3 total. So if they want to move up in round 3, they have that option. As they did in round 2. They didn't take it, so maybe round 3 would be the one, they feel like getting aggressive with.
So you mentioned the Brad Graham tweet. If you're watching the stream right now, you can see some green highlights. Brad Graham tweeted, when did he tweet this? Early in April. He said, I need some help understanding why there isn't more talk about Renardo Green. Probably the best press man corner in this class with a nasty competitive streak. Feels like a solid fit for the 49ers in the mid rounds. I do like that. I do like that the Niners have recognized this sort of competitive streak that they have with these guys that have a bunch of just kind of crazy people, basically. So I like that they're sticking with that. That's cool. And again, maybe Green is a good pick. I don't know. I was just more reacting to kind of what else had gone on in the rest of the second round. We'll find out. He's going to get a chance to play. He's going to have an opportunity because I think the Niners, there's definitely some uncertainty in the secondary. So this is not going to be like a redshirt year, I don't think, for Green. He's going to have a chance to get in there early.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. They did bring in a lot of corners in free agency, this off season. So we'll see where he shakes out on the depth chart. But after 2024, there's definitely going to be an opportunity for him, maybe even Darrell Luter, to make some waves and, have a role on this defense. Now, the interesting thing for that guy, 49ers Sports Talk, who, he gets some things right, some things wrong. So I guess like take it with a grain of salt. He did say, which we already knew, that Brandon Ayuk and the 49ers would, start working on that deal after the draft. But in that same tweet, he also said some of the priorities, BA's extension, but also Mooney Ward and Lenore, which I found interesting because in my mind, they would probably be more likely to just keep one of those guys, and whatever corner they brought in from free agency that maybe ends up being a little bit better than you thought is like an up and comer like Yadam, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can maybe extend one of those guys. Maybe you extend I would extend Lenore and then, see who shakes out of one of the guys that you bring in. So if they kept both of those guys, this would kind of then become a head scratcher. But I don't know. Maybe they're just looking into it right now and seeing which one has the more favorable extension numbers of the two and make that decision then. But yeah, I guess we'll see.
To me, I mean, if I have to choose between Lenore and Charvarius Ward, I'm going Charvarius Ward. Nothing against
Really?
Lenore. Ward is, I mean, he's still 27. He's going to be 28 next month. He's still really good. He's really good. He's a guy I can look at and say, go lock down the other team's number one wide receiver, and I feel good about that. Wedge Antilles says, Rob, you're burying the lead. BA and Debo are here to stay. So Diana Rossini, did you see this? Apparently Diana Rossini had a tweet, and she said that she spoke to Debo on the phone. And I was like, oh, okay. This is pretty cool. Diana Rossini, I'll pull the tweet up here on the stream so everyone can see it, in case you haven't been living on Twitter like I have. She said, I spoke to Debo Samuel on the phone and asked his reaction to the Niners drafting his potential replacement and to the reports that they explored trading him. Quote, I know what's going on, he said, but it is what it is. I'm good staying with them. I'm chilling. Okay, doesn't seem like, seems pretty innocuous to me. But then Debo on his Instagram account posts a picture of the Diana Rossini tweet and says, these reporters, man, with a bunch of emojis. And I got to tell you, I got beef with Debo. Like, what's your complaint, dude? Are you saying she made it up? If you're saying she made it up, then say she made it up. If you're just mad because you thought you were off the record when you really weren't, that's on you. Because I got to tell you, I know Diana Rossini. She ain't making it up.
Yeah, it was a little unclear, right? A little ambiguous what he was trying to say there. I don't know if, I can imagine she would make that up. Like, that's just a weird thing to make up, especially an actual quote, because you don't need to do all that. You don't need a quote.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know if maybe she stretched the truth a little bit. I don't know, but just he's gonna make us wonder, I guess, because
it's an awful lot of drama for a guy that struggles to gain 1,000 yards from scrimmage. Just saying, who's making a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, that's why he was on the trade block.
Right. Like, and that's another thing too, because how many times did we hear last year? Oh, this 49ers offense is so loaded with McCaffrey and Kittle and Debo and BA. Guess what? Nobody wanted those guys. You could have had Debo Samuel and nobody wanted him. Nobody wanted Brandon Ayuk, right? What do we hear about Brandon Ayuk? Oh, I don't know. How good is he going to be away from Kyle Shanahan? So when we keep talking about how good these guys are we sure? Because the rest of the league kind of told you how good they think they are.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the reason, at least for the Brandon Ayuk situation, part of the reason that I think maybe the 49ers were wanting to listen to some offers for Brandon Ayuk, one, just in case they get blown away, it doesn't hurt. But also, two, I think they kind of use it as a bargaining chip in a way to kind of gather information on what that player's value truly is in the market so they can go back to that player in these negotiations and say, this is what the other teams were willing to give up for you. This is what your value is in the market. It's not as high as you thought, was it? So let's get back to the table and look at these numbers once again. Maybe you want to, meet us somewhere differently than before. So that's kind of what I think plays into it. That's why I think like with these receivers at least, you get these reports that the 49ers are maybe shopping them or listening to other teams and them. So they can go back and maybe use that information against the the player in negotiations.
I'm sure they are going to try. I
They
saw
pull out all the stops.
right. They do. I saw this tweet that you retweeted, Steph. This is Eric Galco, who is the director of football operations for the Shrine Bowl. He
Yeah.
tweeted, Renardo Green faced 3 of the top wide receivers in the draft this year, Neighbors, Brian Thomas, and Pearsall. Against those 3, he had 60 coverage snaps, 5 catches allowed against those 3 players, 1 pick, 1, what is Fink? Forced incompletion? Yeah, 1
Yeah.
forced incompletion and a 28.7 quarterback rating. Green's risen in the draft process, and I've seen his name a lot more on Twitter post Shrine Ball. He was fantastic in Frisco, off and on the field. So that's encouraging.
That is very impressive for sure. I mean, these are guys who are going to be stars in the NFL. Talking about the wide receivers, right? So that is encouraging. I guess like what you brought up about the Ambry Thomas thing does worry me because I don't know. The thought of another Ambry would terrify me. So I really hope that's that's not the case with him, but I've seen some encouraging things from him like I said. So we'll see how it works out. And again, like he's not going to start right away. So I think it's ideal that he can learn behind Mooney Ward and Lenore. I actually think Lenore is like a great guy for guys to learn from. I mean, and I feel like Lenore honestly learned from Mooney, but now I feel like Lenore is at a point in his career and trajectory where he can now be the kind of guy who young guys can learn from too, just because like we've kind of seen him develop into what he is now. And, at the beginning, we weren't so sure what he was going to end up being, right? And he kind of just like brought that out of himself. And I think corners need that confidence. Like I think Lenore has crazy confidence in himself, unwavering. And you need that. Like what I was saying yesterday, right? Like you need to be like a little delusional as a corner.
Mhm.
You have to have that type of confidence. So yeah, if for Renardo Green, like if you can go up against those top guys in college and be able to shut them down, that screams confidence, right? So just needs more of that, right?
And that's way more important to me than how many mock drafts he was in before the draft. Because I feel like that's what happened with Pearsall, right? 49er fans, we're back in the mock drafts for the first time in 3 years. We're so excited because we get to actually pay attention to something on the first night of the draft. And so we're all sitting there, we're all reading this, and we're reading offensive linemen, and we're reading cool wide receivers and corners and safeties and whatever the case may be. So you start to see the same names over and over again, and I feel like you do start to develop attachments to people. So when they draft Ricky Pearsall in the first round, and he's not been a name than you've been reading in any of these drafts, the natural reaction from a lot of people is, oh, this is a terrible pick. What are they doing? They're terrible. This is awful. What a disaster. When in reality, that might not be the case at all. And the same thing could be very true for Green. Maybe we just haven't seen him in a lot of mock drafts, but he might actually be really damn good. I saw in the chat, I can't find the conversation, the comment right now specifically, but somebody said he's the best press corner in the draft on one of the draft shows. Maybe he is. So maybe that'd be a great thing for the 49ers. But because we don't see his name in the mock drafts as much, we think it's a bad pick.
Right. And I think what Eric Galco said, from the Shrine Poll is pretty accurate. Like you get guys who, maybe in college don't get the type of attention that they could have had, but when they're in a different setting, like say the Shrine Bowl or in the draft process, they get different kind of eyes on them in a different kind of environment. And that's when they shine. And you're like, whoa, like this guy does have skills, to be an NFL player. And so I I'm feeling like Renardo Green is kind of like that. I think Pearsall, very similar. Like, dude, Florida's offense, terrible. If he had any other quarterback, like if he had a good quarterback in college, he would have been probably way earlier of a pick in the first round. So I think I that makes me feel better about that because again, like I think there's some untapped potential there with Pearsall as far as his production goes. I think they left a lot out there just because he was getting open. He wasn't getting the ball at times. When he would get open, he would throw his quarterback would throw hospital balls at him, at times just inaccurate, things like that. So there was some meat on the bone left with Ricky Pearsall, and maybe that's the case for Renardo Green as well.
And you can make the argument that picking where the 49ers are picking, those are the kind of guys you have to target when you're so far back in the round. Is this the KP tweet you were talking about, Steph, that you messaged me about? I hope I got the right one. Yeah. Okay. Yep. So Kyle Posey, who of course is the Grand Poobah at Niners Nation for SB Nation, says, I'm wearing an FSU shirt, but hear me out. Renardo Green is Terrion Arnold without the projection. He played corner, safety, nickel. He's as competitive as it gets, and I'm guessing that's what the 49ers fell in love with. He oozes competitiveness / a willingness to tackle. That plays today, and it specifically plays for Kyle Shanahan, Steph. And I was reading because Green has started talking. He's doing a press conference with the 49ers right now. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned the confidence. You're 1,000% right. He said, I process everything fast because I have a lot more knowledge than most people. They fit me, talking about the 49ers. They play like savages. They play like dogs. They hit. I mean, it sounds like it is exactly what you said. They fell in love with this guy and his mentality.
And again, like he's sensing that he's going to a place with a bunch of dogs on that defense. And he's right. And I think it's a kind of defense that if you got some dog in you, it's going to bring the dog in you out even more to be around some other dogs. You know what I mean? So I think the 49ers defense is that. And if you're not a dog, you're going to get exposed pretty quick because you're not going to fit in with this defense. Right. So I think just his reaction, some of these quotes we're seeing so far, that's the confidence we're talking about, right? It's already exuding out of him in these quotes. So just imagine, how he plays. So yeah, I mean, I could definitely come around to this pick, man.
The funny thing is, like right now, we've been kind of a little disappointed, not necessarily with Green specifically, but just kind of with the 49ers strategy so far. And a lot of people in the chat are down on him. The workouts are coming up in May. By May, we may be like, oh my God, did you see this play? Look at this clip. We're hearing about him. By rookie minicamp, we may do a complete 180 and be like, Green looks phenomenal. This is a steal for the 49ers. It's just funny how that could be the case when no games will have been played and basically 2 weeks will have passed.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of time between now and then for us to change our minds. Look, I mean, I wasn't very happy about the Ricky Pearsall pick, yesterday, right? Like part of that was feeling like the 49ers probably took him a little bit early for Renardo Green. You can maybe say the same. Also, we're feeling a little bit jaded about the 49ers not taking a tackle. So now we're projecting that onto Renardo Green. You know what I mean? So it's just all these emotions. But if I try to separate the emotion of that and being upset about something else, separate that from the player and just evaluate the player as he is, and come away with opinion that way. And I think I'm going to end up liking Renardo Green quite a bit just based on what I'm seeing so far.
I hope so. Ben Richards on Twitch quotes and says, not that many out there are better than me. And he's claiming that Ambry Thomas said that, and maybe he did. I don't remember, honestly. Yeah, confidence is great to have, but you also have to be able to back it up. And so far, Ambry Thomas has not been able to back it up. So hopefully, Renardo Green actually can. He said he didn't think the 49ers would pull the trigger on him. The Niners, I feel like, are kind of they like to do that. They don't really like to let you know that they're interested too much. I don't know if that's good or bad, but apparently, Daniel Bullock said, I feel like you'll fight till you die. Green said, it's supposed to be like that. That's what a dog is. You ever seen a dog fight? Renardo Green, I mean, these
quotes are incredible.
Yeah, man. Like if he plays half as good as he talks behind a microphone, we got a good player.
Either that or he's the next best podcaster.
We got enough 49ers podcasters. Oh, I guess they lost Eric Armstead. So Drew Phillips just went to the Giants. That was a guy I know the 49ers had interested in. Stephen Duckett, YouTube channel member, says Mooney and Lenore are on the last year of their contract. The corner was absolutely needed. Kyle talked about that yesterday, about how when you think of needs, you can't just look at this year. You have to look at next year and years down the road. And a lot of Hufanga's a free agent after the year. Mooney Ward's a free agent after the year. Diamador Lenore is a free agent after the year. So, yes, I mean, they absolutely had a need there. And we all thought they would go corner. We just didn't know when it would be.
Right. And I'm also liking the fact that, I'm seeing he has versatility, right? Positional versatility. He can play at safety as well. Much has been said about Brandon Staley and how he always likes to have a star, role on his defense. And so ideally, that's a guy who has that positional versatility, who you can line up, pretty much anywhere. And who knows? Maybe Renardo Green is that guy that Brandon Staley is envisioning. Like I kind of mentioned it, when we first talked about the pick, that I think there is some influence of Brandon Staley written in this pick. So maybe that's part of the reason they brought him in as well.
1,000%. I mean, Staley's fingerprints are all over all the acquisitions they made on defense. That's why I call it the Brandon Staley defense. You could tell me Nick Sorensen's the defensive coordinator. It ain't Nick Sorensen's defense. It's Brandon Staley's defense. I firmly believe the 49ers wanted to hire Staley and just didn't have the balls to do it. So they tried to couch it and say, well, Staley's a defensive coordinator, or Sorensen's a defensive coordinator, but Staley's the babysitter. It's his defense. And I think that's reflected in the acquisitions that they've made.
Yeah. I think so too. He definitely seems to have more influence than I thought he would going into it, which, so far I've been intrigued by the players that they've brought in. I want to see new wrinkles in this defense because I think the NFL was starting to adjust to what the 49ers had historically been doing on defense, because they've been doing it for so long, right? And so I think having new wrinkles is never a bad thing. I just hope it doesn't change too much because, I did like what it mostly was before Brandon Staley. But definitely welcome some wrinkles and some new changes to it.
We talked about on offense how they might have to evolve because there's so many guys around the league that are looking for players that they like. The same thing could apply to the defense as well. And I think Kyle recognizes that. And I hope he implements that a little this season. I'm seeing a cool graph on X about forced incompletions in man coverage. Of anybody in the draft, Renardo Green is, I believe, tied with DJ James of Auburn for the most forced incompletions in man coverage. And it's tied, and there's a big gap between Green and James and everybody else in the draft. Looks like they're at about 11 or 12 forced incompletions in man coverage. We saw man coverage shut down the 49ers offense. We know Mooney Ward can play it. Great. If Green can play it too, and the Niners want to go from more of a zone team to more of a man team, they're finding the right people, it seems like, to do it.
Right. It definitely feels like that's what they might move towards. And I'm not mad at that. Like I think there were times where we saw the zone defense get gashed quite a bit. So I'm good with man. But with man, yeah, you need really good individual players. And so now they're in that stage of finding the individual players who are gonna be, because like when you're in man, every guy has to be a shutdown guy, like every guy in coverage, or you have a leak that everyone's going to be able to expose. So everyone's got to be dogs, everyone's got to be good in coverage. And so if Renardo Green fits that mold, and we know that Mooney Ward and Lenore do, then I think he's going to fit in just fine.
I hope so. I'll say that. And I wouldn't mind a little more man coverage. It just looked so easy at times last year, didn't it? Especially like Watching the Minnesota game and the Cincinnati game last year, I'm sitting there at the TV just like screaming. It just looked so simple and so easy for everybody to drop back and just get rid of the ball to their number one target whenever they wanted to do it. And I think if you do play more man coverage, like you said, you got to be able to actually do it to figure it out. But I think it's going to help the pass rush. It's going to give them a little more time to get home. Now, the only thing with that is you also got to be able to stop the quarterback running, because if everybody's in man, that's what burned them a couple of times in the Super Bowl.
That's why you have the linebackers that you do, though. You know, I
Mhm.
mean, and those guys should be able to play sideline to sideline and into the box whenever they need to. So, you know, I'm not too worried about the range of Dre Greenlaw when he is healthy and Fred Warner.
That is true. I mean, if there's one thing they can do, it's range for sure. If you are not following Steph on Twitter at Steph49K, you absolutely should. Your Twitter feed right now, Steph, is just like a fountain of positivity. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Oh, I'm allergic to positivity, apparently. Steph,
That tracks.
you are just retweeting every nice thing somebody is saying about Renardo Green. RG3 said he was that dude at FSU. Watch his tape and you'll see no wasted movement, disciplined eyes, and I don't give a bleep who you are playing attitude. He played for one of the best defensive coordinators in the country, and he'll be ready to make a fuller impact for the 49ers.
And
Again,
this is what I do. Like, okay, this is how I fan, right? Like, I might be skeptical about the pick at first, but I kind of let the information come in. I see what other people smarter than me have to say about that player. I do retweet it because I want other people to see that as well. Like, hey, look at what all these people are saying. And then later tonight I'm gonna watch some of his film and I'm gonna see what I think about it. So hopefully I can get some all 22 though, because it's kind of hard to see
right on the broadcast.
corners on broadcast. Yep.
Well,
So
let's keep the
I
positive.
might have to make some calls.
Oh, okay. Go to your sources. Let's keep the positivity going. Why not? Right? If we can't be positive today, let's have a little fun. Chris Sims says, I see you, 49ers. Great pick with Renardo Green. He's made for the Niners defensive scheme. A Seattle type of corner, physical at the line, and can bail and not let you get beat over the top. 49ers only get badasses. Check that box with Green. That's good, obviously. And Brett Coleman says it takes about 10 snaps of watching Renardo Green versus Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. for you to realize that he's a really, really, really good player. Fantastic pick for the Niners. So there you go.
I'm really excited to watch him now. So you see what I'm saying? Like already my perception of the pick is in, a more positive place. And then when I go to watch his film, I'm kind of like in a good headspace to evaluate him.
I feel like both picks have been met more warmly from 49 from like draft media and NFL media than they have been from 49ers fans. I would say both with Pearsall and with Green.
Yeah.
Breaking 80 says stable metrics, 97% coverage grade outside, 86% coverage grade slot, 98% coverage grade single, 96% coverage grade clean pocket, 94 coverage grade time to throw greater than 3 seconds, and 99% forced incompletion. I mean, those all look good. I don't know how much I believe in those, but certainly those aren't bad numbers to see.
Yeah, what I don't know where these numbers are from, or if Breaking 80 just his own stats. Not sure. I'd be
right.
very curious, Breaking 80, but
He paid
yeah,
10
I mean,
shares.
I wouldn't be I wouldn't be too surprised, I guess, based on some of the things I'm seeing people say about him.
He says they're from PFF.
Okay. Okay.
Do you
Then yeah, he's a dog.
Do you think that, because I think Lombardi has said that they want to keep Lenore as the nickel? Do you know if that's true? Have you heard that? Because then it's like, well, then Green's going to be playing outside.
Right. I feel like they could be swayed by that. I mean, I think Lenore was so strong at nickel that they're probably like, we don't want to take you out of that. But if there is someone who comes in like a Daryl Luter, like a Renardo Green, who plays outstanding outside, like it's only going to solidify that, right?
Mhm.
And like who would be the nickel if not Lenore, right? I think they got some guys who could maybe have that versatility, but would they be as good as Lenore? So that's the question, right? You kind of found this, bag of gold, and you don't want to just like leave it there and use it for something else.
I'd also like to just simplify things for Lenore. Like, hey, dude, you're the nickel. Work on that. Jimmy Ward talked about that a lot, how
Yeah.
especially early in his career, he's moving around a lot. And then late in his career, they ended up having to move him to nickel with the Niners. And he just, it's hard. It's a different skill set, it's different responsibilities. It'd be much simpler for Deommodore Lenoir to just know, hey, you're going to be the nickel. And also, by the way, like going into a contract year, you want to put up good numbers. You want to have a good year. And knowing what your role is going to be was only going to help with that.
Yeah, exactly. And what Technic Sheik said, at least Lenore could just do one thing now.
Mm-hmm.
Be great at that one thing, and that's all you need to worry about. I mean, yeah, that's great. And the good thing for the Niners is knowing that if something were to happen, there's an injury to someone else. I mean, he could always play outside. Like that's the value in Lenore. Um, I what's the market for outside corners versus just a nickel though? Because it wouldn't surprise me if the 49ers are like, you're a nickel now. This is how much we're gonna pay you because you're a nickel.
1,000%. It's way less than outside guy. 1,000%. Yep.
Yeah, that's
I
what I figured. So
Right. We'll turn
they're playing
Debo into
chess,
a
not checkers.
yeah. They tried to turn Debo into a running back to get his number down. Now they want to move Lenore to the slot. Look, that's right. Chess, not checkers.
I'm familiar with your game. You can't fool me. This
I
team,
mean,
man. This team. I
it's
mean, I wouldn't put it past them. I'm just speculating, but I wouldn't put it past them.
well. Let's just say this. Lenore's thinking about that, right? I'm sure he's aware that the market for slot corners is less than the market for outside corner, and he's got to be like, "Damn, I'm a fifth round pick. I just got my footing. I'm finally kicking ass outside, and now you move me inside."
I don't know if he thinks like that, which I don't know. I like that about Lenore. I don't think he really complains about his role. Like he just seems like the kind of guy who is like, I know I'm a dog anywhere I am. Like just line me up wherever you want me. I'm gonna be, this shutdown guy. And so far he hasn't been wrong. So again, delusional, but sometimes the mind is a mysterious thing. You can speak some things into existence.
So let me ask you this. I think we've got like 19 picks before the 49ers pick again, something like that. Do you think offensive line is just off the board now, or do you think they could still go offensive line? Where do you think they're going in round 3?
Man, I really don't know, Rob. Since that pick, I've seen several tackles go, including Caden Wallace, who, like I said, the 49ers had met with him. So I was kind of, thinking he can be an option for them later in this round 3. So I really don't know. I can't say for sure. I think my next pick would be Kiran Megadaji, the guy out of Yale. He's kind of like he has nice tools, somewhat developmental, but at this point, I mean, if you're going this late,
Mm-hmm.
and at this point, I feel like the 49ers are set with the starting group they have. Like that's
Right.
what they're telling us, right? And so if you could just bring someone who you can develop, the 49ers like to do that with their offensive linemen. Um, then he would be someone worth taking a flyer on just based on some of the tools that he has. Also, Walter Roos is another guy that's pretty good. Frank Crum, Tylen Grable is an interesting one too that I've seen some people talk about. I don't know if you can hear that. There's like thunder.
That's
There's like a crazy storm. Um, yeah.
so
So and he can go in like the 7th round, maybe the 6th, seeing how some of these tackles are going kind of early at this point. But he's a guy who has some tools too that you can maybe mold into something interesting. So if the 49ers want to go that route, there are some guys, but at this point, I think you're just taking guys who you think might have some upside.
Right. Your starters are the same starters we had last year. You're not getting a starter
Yes.
unless you like completely hit a grand slam. At this point, you're not going to hit a starter in the draft on the offensive line. Gameplan.exe on Twitch says, was Renardo Green a visit, Steph? I need to know how many players are still out there that had come
Oh,
in for visits.
he was not a visit. And actually to this point, they haven't drafted any players that they have visited, and quite a few of them have been picked elsewhere. So yeah, it's actually it's not looking too great for me. Maybe the visit thing was more of an Adam Peters thing. Um or maybe they saw that I was tracking the visits so hard that they're like, we're just gonna throw her off our scent because she keeps telling everyone we're guaranteed to draft 4 of these guys. Uh, so I don't know. I mean, there were a few corners that they visited with, none of which were Renardo Green, and so you can probably take all those guys off as an option for the 49ers. Tackles, let's see. Yeah, they brought in a few tackles, and again, no yeah, Blake Fisher, Kingsley, and Caden Wallace, they all went. Layden Robinson is a guard. Um, I've thought this, right? That maybe, and I don't know if I mentioned it on Bully Ball, but I wonder if the 49ers feel like guard is a bigger need than tackle for them. I don't think they're sold on Spencer Burford, clearly, and Feliciano is just on a 1-year deal. So
Your
it
boy
wouldn't
from
shock
Yale,
me if they went guard at some point in this draft and didn't go tackle, quite honestly, or maybe go tackle like way later.
your boy from Yale just got drafted by the Bears.
Oh my god. See, this is what I'm saying. Like the tackles are going off the board. So it doesn't seem like the 49ers have any
No urgency.
no I don't think they want to tackle. I don't think they do.
I think they're good. I would lie.
Apparently.
Yeah,
Apparently they're good.
they get pressed on that. Do you need to duck out for a second, or are you good?
Oh yeah, it was storming and my cat gets scared, so I put him in like a little like blanket thing that he has, like, so I was just gonna tuck him in.
Oh, you can go ahead and do that. That's fine.
I
Take
think
care.
he's okay. He's okay right now. He's under something. So
All right. There we go. Okay, let me ask you this couple of questions. David Lombardi tweets the Niners have the deepest cornerback room they've ever had under John Lynch, easily. Mooney Ward, Diamondor Lenore, Isaac Yadam, Renardo Green, Rock Yassin, Ambry Thomas, Darrell Luter, Samuel Womack, and Kaman Hall. I don't know if half of the guys in that room are any good, though. That's the problem.
That's fair. I mean, that's fair. If you look at the top, like your top 4 guys are startable, I think, right? Like I'm just, obviously projecting on Renardo Green a little bit, but I think those guys can start. Rock Ya-Sin has starting ability. He hasn't started in some time, but he's great depth. So like, I mean, yeah, I really like this corner room. And you can go into training camp hoping that someone that maybe you weren't really expecting, really blooms, really shines. And then you have the option to trade one of those guys if you want, like, I don't know. So 49ers have options at corner. They just brought in a bunch of guys going to compete. And like I said, I think this sets them up well for 25, because then they can kind of evaluate the position this year, see who they want to move forward with going forward, and go from there.
I would be fine with that. And by the way, I don't think you're projecting with Green. I mean, it's not crazy to think that a second-round player can come in and be a starter. Like,
That's true. Yeah.
Aaron Banks was a second-round pick. He's a starter. So I don't think you're like making some, fangirl.
I guess I don't have a lot of confidence in the 49ers, draft picks getting opportunities.
Thomas Luttrell says, has Stats given an explanation why trading with the Chiefs to give them Kingsley was a great idea? I never said it was a great idea. I hated it. I don't want the Chiefs getting any more help. Okay, they've won Super Bowls with great players. They've won Super Bowls with no wide receiving core whatsoever. Now that first the Bills let them trade up and they get a pick there. Now the Niners. Anybody else who beat the Chiefs? The Bengals going to make a deal with Kansas City to help them get better? Like, no, I hated it, Thomas. I hated it.
Tell us how you really feel, Rob.
I'm frustrated. There is one offensive lineman that, and again, like I'm not a draft expert whatsoever, but there is one offensive lineman left in this draft that I am sort of hoping that the 49ers take. It's Tanner Bortolini from Wisconsin. I loved what I read in the Dane Brugler draft guide. He's played everywhere on the offensive line. He broke Jason Kelsey's 3-cone combine record for interior offensive linemen. I love that. And he says he loves to be the guy at the line of scrimmage communicating all the calls to the defense. He likes to have that control. That is something
ding,
that
ding, ding. Niner.
Right? Like that's what
you are a Niner.
100%. That's what the center in this system does. Now, obviously, look, everybody's got some warts at this stage. He doesn't have ideal length. He's had some injuries to his knees. Some of the pass rush counter moves he's got to work on, according to Dane Brugler. But I loved all the positives I read about him. I was like, this guy's begging to be a 49er. Why not, man? Go for it with the next pick. Stop screwing around. Give me one offensive lineman so I could sleep tonight.
I would not be mad. See, that's the thing. Like, again, if the 49ers just get any offensive lineman at this point, I would be fine. You know, like just give us something, right? It doesn't have to be a tackle. Fine, okay? Just Bortolini would be awesome at any point that they can get him in this draft. And I think, you know, in round 3, that would be a great time to make a move for him. You know, I saw someone else in the chat mentioning Christian Haynes. You know, I think he's also someone who could be an option for the Niners. There are some, you know, nice guards that I like. So, you know, and Leighton Robinson is one they had met with. Matt Goncalves or Goncalves. I don't know how you say his name, but he could be an option as well. I don't know, man. I'm just holding on to some hope.
Hopium right now. Technic Chic says, "Oh, we need Bortolini." Not gonna lie, as an Italian American, I wouldn't mind having a Bortolini in the locker room. I'm just saying, just throwing that out there.
Yeah, that's.
Look, there are not that many of us Italians in professional sports. I'm just saying, it'd be cool to have. Like Mike Piazza retired a long time ago. This is what I have right now. I'm sorry.
I don't know. I didn't even know you were Italian, Rob.
Yeah, most people think I'm Spanish. Not Spanish in any way, shape, form, or
not that either. But
I like to have at least one or two guys to hope for in terms of draft crushes. I know Michelle Majuk had mentioned Jatavian Sanders, the tight end from Texas. She really liked him. He's still on the board.
There hasn't been any run on tight ends. We're still seeing a run on tackles. Like tackles is still very much going right now. So that's what's happening. And so I think the 49ers probably fine to wait for a tight end. I do think it's something they do want to end up with out of this draft. I just think they could afford to wait. I think the way the board's been falling so far, you know, it's not, they can stand pat on that one for all I care.
Do you think the 49ers are going to stand pat in the 3rd round, or do you think they're going to move up? At this point, I think I just want them to move ahead of the Ravens. Like, just please.
So they're at pick 79. The Cardinals moved back again. So the Colts are up at 79.
The 49ers.
And one of the 49ers pick
94.
Okay. Yeah. They could move up. But again, like because of these weird runs that we keep seeing based on the position they want, like which I think we've already established is not a tackle, then they might feel comfortable waiting and feel confident that the guy they want is going to be there.
Breaking 80 says, Steph, you need to text your pal John Lynch and tell him to actually draft. Come on, what are you doing?
I don't know. They might need Adam Peters back. But then again, they had Adam Peters in the last 2-3 drafts, so
yeah. and it hasn't exactly gone great for the 49ers. Let me just
Dude,
really
but he's killing it in Washington.
they got
I've loved all of their picks.
Jaden Daniels, Johnny Newton in the second round. They got Mike Sanistril, the corner out of Michigan,
So
in the
he's
second.
a dog, man. I loved him. He was one of my favorite players.
They got Ben Sinnott, who apparently a lot of people are high on at tight end, and then Brandon Coleman, a guard from TCU in the third round. Nice to see somebody take an offensive lineman.
See, I mean, maybe it's not Adam Peters that was averse to taking linemen. It was someone else in that building because we're still seeing it.
Yeah, Tim Kawakami had a tweet about something about how like the just tackle is just left tackle is a priority for the 49ers, but right tackle is just not for whatever reason. They're just fine, just sort of getting by at that spot. I hope Kyle, like, I would love for him to be asked that. Kyle, like, how much do you prioritize right tackle, or do you think it's a position that necessarily you can get by if you don't invest a significant amount of capital? I think that's a fair question to ask at this point.
Yeah, I think so too. And Houston, by the way, just got safety Kalen Bullock, who the 49ers had a visit with as well. Probably someone they would have been interested in. But yeah, I think so too. I was just looking too at just some of the options that could be available for the 49ers when they pick Adisa Isaac, who's an edge rusher, and on Dane Brugler's draft guide, he's the 7th ranked edge rusher.
Wow.
And there are guys ranked way after him who have already been drafted. So I don't really know what's going on with him.
Yes,
But at this point, it feels like it would be a steal, right?
He's a big boy, 6'4", 247, excuse me. ESPN says explosive edge rusher who flashes effective dip and rip move, active hands, length, and burst to continue to improve as a pass rusher, moves well for his size, effectively drops into coverage, and is a reliable tackler. Damn, like, sign me up for that, dude. Yes, please.
Yeah,
I still think edge is a priority for them. I think safety is a priority for them. Obviously, offensive line, yes. I'm trying to like forecast where I think they could go next. I think unless they go offensive line, that's the only spot I see them drafting on offense today, anyway. Yeah, I think the next pick is probably going to be another defender.
The Colts just took Matt Goncalves or whatever, the tackle. So again, we're still seeing tackles fly off the board. It's been pretty insane. It's almost like the 49ers were like, we know everyone's going to get a tackle, and that means that other talent's going to fall to us. So keep it coming. It's not bad. Not a bad strategy.
But like, the other thing is this, right? You're also asking John Feliciano and Colton McKivitz to stay healthy all year long. Because otherwise, we're looking at what? Jalen Moore as the backup tackle. And then we're back to Spencer Burford at guard. And that's kind of a scary thing, too.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they did bring in a free agent this offseason as well, which his name is escaping me. But I think the 49ers would kind of hope that he could be that type of pickup that Feliciano was last year and kind of surprise people. I know he played with the Raiders, and I don't remember his name, but just the 49ers feel like they can just plug guys in and be fine. That's what they've shown us.
I don't know if that's the best strategy. Like, I think what happens is like in any given game in the regular season, yes, I think that's true. But that's not where the 49ers are. We're talking about Super Bowls. We're talking about winning against playoff teams, against quality competition. And that stuff shows up when you play against that competition. I'm just trying to quickly throw up the graphic here. This isn't totally up to date, but the name that you were thinking of, are you thinking of Brandon Parker?
I think so. Yeah, the guy who had played with the Raiders. By the way, the Seahawks just took the guard Christian Haynes, so that's cool.
I feel like the NFC West as a whole, as a division, has had a very, very strong draft. I think what the Rams have done, The Rams have loaded up on a couple of defensive linemen. I think the Rams went into this offseason. They got some O linemen. They got some D linemen in the draft. I think they went in saying, we are not going to let the 49ers push us around anymore. It took like 9 meetings, but basically now they finally decided to do something about it. And yeah, I do think like they're loading up, right? You can't just depend on being the bully all the time. You have to replenish. You have to rebuild. 49ers haven't been able to do that with their draft classes recently. And I don't know. The NFC West is looking pretty good right now.
I think it is. I mean, but at the same time, like I always kind of caution draft winners, right? Like last season, I thought the Eagles had a great draft because what I thought they did, like the season prior, they were good, and then the draft just felt like they were building on top of that, but their defense fell apart. So despite them making good picks on defense, it didn't really like, I don't know, they couldn't really make anything happen with it. So I guess like there's a lot than just good picks that need to happen for a team to be successful. And so coaching matters, the environment they're in matters, you know, supporting cat, all those things. So
yep.
Yeah, I guess I just got to see it all. I mean, obviously the Rams still is the team that worries me the most in the NFC West, and just because I think they're under great coaching, right? Like
Right.
I think they're under a really good GM in Les Snead, so they're one of the better run orgs in the NFC West, along with the 49ers. So they worry me the most. They've made some good picks as well.
They have the best quarterback.
And Arizona, like, they're definitely set up to have success with all the picks that they've got. And then they had number 4 overall, and they still have Kyler. But it's yet to be seen what, I guess what they can really build. I mean,
As long as they have Kyler, I'm not worried.
But they have Marvin Harrison. I mean,
yeah, they still got to get him the ball, though. When you
Yeah.
have to put a homework clause in your quarterback's big contract, that guy's never going to be good. Like, that's all I need to know about Kyler Murray. And he has crazy, insane physical athletic ability. Like, one of the most athletic human beings.
Which is what he relies on.
Yep. He's got to be playing Call of Duty. No, I'm not worried about the Cardinals. Great. You've got Marvin Harrison Jr. Awesome. Kyler's the issue there. And until they get rid of him, they might be a pain in the ass, but they're not going to be a real threat. So I'm not worried about the Cardinals. I'm much more worried about the Rams. I totally agree with what you're saying. McVay's a great coach. He's a great coach. McVay is a better coach than Kyle Shanahan in my eyes. And I love Kyle Shanahan, but compare the resumes. McVay walked into a tire fire and has really had one bad season ever. And he has
head coach. Yes, he's a better head coach than Kyle Shanahan. Absolutely.
I know Niners fans hate it when I say that, but
it's true. I mean, and look, we have the Super Bowl games, not wins. We have the Super Bowl games to show for it. So
Super Bowl appearances.
Yeah, the Super Bowl appearances.
But I like what the Rams have done. Seattle, I don't know what to think of Seattle. That was the scariest part for me of them moving on from Pete Carroll, because it was like I felt like Kyle had Pete's number. Like Kyle knew how to break down the defense. He knew how to break their rules, and they were just going to keep kicking the hell out of the Seahawks. Now they got Mike McDonald, who obviously had success against Kyle when he was with the Ravens on Christmas. We all saw that disaster. Could be scary. Yeah, I don't know it. He might not be good, but he might be very good. I don't know what to expect. And I hate uncertainty in life, Steph. I hate it. When I apply for a job, I would much rather find out the second I submit the application whether I got the job or not. I cannot stand uncertainty. If it's bad news, whatever, let me know and I'll react and I'll handle it. Uncertainty drives me crazy.
That's fair. That's like someone telling you I have something to tell you, but I have to tell you later. Don't you just hate that?
We need to talk later. No, we need to talk
now. Yeah, so just tell me you need to talk later now,
Right. Or just shut up. And when you actually want to talk to me, then we'll talk. Figure it out. Uncertainty sucks. There's nothing good about it. When you ask somebody, you just did this, Steph. When you ask somebody to marry
What
you,
I do?
when you ask somebody to marry you, that whatever it is, half second, whatever it is before the answer is the worst time period ever. It's intolerable. I want to know.
Well, I already knew what the answer was going to be, so I guess that that was
You were
fine for me.
1,000%.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Did
sure.
you talk about it before you proposed or no?
I mean, we'd only been together like 8 years, so I think in that span we did have some time to to talk about it. And she's only hinted it, several times.
Wait, she could have asked you.
She
Don't
could
hint.
have. She could have.
Sorry, we're diving into the personal stuff on the pod
Yeah.
for the 49ers to make their and I apologize if you didn't want to go there. I'm a sharer mostly, so I overshare.
I mean, we're in that part of the draft where it's just lulling here,
I'm thrilled with how I thought we would be starting our show right now. These teams are cranking.
It did.
Yeah, I was like, we're gonna go at 10:30
I mean,
Eastern.
Each day goes faster than the day before. Like tomorrow, it's like flying. Like you can't even keep up with the fucking picks. Sorry, bleep it out.
Yeah, no, you know what? These have been unbleeped broadcasts because they're just too damn long for me to go through all of them. Looks like Christian Haynes is gone now from UConn. That was another guy that
I said that.
Had their eyes on. Oh, okay, you did say that. Why are people? Why Mr. J in the chat is just like swearing at me? What is your problem, Mr. J? Like I don't understand. Do you have a problem with my life philosophy?
Same, honestly.
Yeah, what is this like? Whenever you or Jay is out on bully ball, you're always like, oh, had to have Rob.
It's just my shtick, man. It's my shtick. It's just so easy to like mess with you. I don't know.
It's working. Let me just say that. I'm trying to check Twitter here and see if there's anything new from the crack staff.
Wow, the Rams running back. They got Blake Corum, who's a nice running back, but that's surprising to me because I actually really like their current running back, Kyren Williams, quite a bit. I'm actually a little bummed because I have Kyren Williams in a dynasty league, and he was like to the moon last year. So Blake Corum, not feeling great about that from a dynasty perspective, but that's interesting. It feels like the way that Sean McVay kind of likes to have two running backs, like
because I think he realizes what happened when he lost Gurley and they had nobody there. Like he had to really change his offense in a significant way, and now he got Kyren Williams, and I feel like he's like, okay, we got it back now. We've adjusted, and he doesn't want to ever have to go through what he went through. So now I think he's just trying to prepare for that and double up. And when they have a running game, their offense is so much scarier.
It is, but I also feel like if you have two guys that you're splitting like 50-50, you never really have like one dominant guy. Like I feel like that kind of ended up being the situation with
Cam Akers.
Cam Akers, yeah. And that was weird. That whole situation with him was really weird. And then so it was Cam Akers, and who was the other running back? They had another running back who was like
Sony Michel.
It might have been Sony Michel, or someone else. I don't know. Just someone kind of like there as a shadow. Like it was weird. And then, he got hurt, and then
Daryl.
I don't know. It's just Henderson. Yeah, yes, I think that's who it was. So I don't know. They like kick their running backs to the curb, like once they have new flavor of the month, I feel like. So hopefully Kyren Williams doesn't get ignored. But he's more of he's a really good running back. He also is great as a pass catching back too. So maybe that's kind of the role they see for him, and maybe Blake Corum will. I don't know. This is pretty early to be getting a running back, is my thought.
I think there have only been like 2 or 3 drafted the whole draft so far.
Yeah.
I don't like this whole Rams having draft picks thing. We got to stop that. Nope, don't like that. I want them to trade all their picks for one player.
They traded up like last in the second round, and they
Yep.
gave up like a what did they give up? They gave up something crazy. I was like,
Yeah,
what
they
are they
gave up a
doing?
lot.
They don't care about any picks.
Well, they still had a lot left. Like that's the thing. People recently have been like, "Oh, the Rams don't have picks." They didn't have firsts, but they actually had a lot of picks beyond that. And let me just check really quickly to see what they have left. The
So
Rams,
and
they
they just tied.
have a third, a fifth, three, four, sixth, and a seventh. So they still have a lot of picks.
We'll see if they get active again too. They like I said, they had already moved up. Um, the Cardinals took tight end Tip Ryman, who a lot of people kind of saw could be a fit for the 49ers as well. And so they
Another
get a
guy
tight
off
end.
the
We'll
board.
see if tight ends make a bit of a run here. Not a
Um,
lot of tight end action to this point.
True. There was, I did have a draft crush at tight end, Steph. Jaheim Bell. This was somebody that I didn't even know was in the draft. I saw somebody tweet about him and I was like, let me go check out. Look, draft crushes aren't logical. Okay. A crush is not a logical thing, it's based on emotion. So I just YouTubed his highlights one day and I was like, oh my God, this guy runs like a 49er. Like after the catch, he is a beast. He has that just yak bros, like whatever that thing is, where a lot of his plays too, like he goes out of bounds or the play ends and he literally doesn't get tackled. It just like jumped out to me. I was like, this guy looks like he should be wearing a 49ers jersey. He catches the ball away from his body. He's not super fast. He looks like Vernon Davis, like he's got the dreads and the muscles like Vernon had back in the day, but he runs like a 4.6. He doesn't run a 4.36 like Vernon Davis did, but still, he's a later round guy. I like him. He's one of my draft crushes. He's still there, so maybe I can dream tomorrow.
The Steelers pick up Roman Wilson. He goes off the board. Yeah, Jaheim Bell. I've seen a lot of people mention him, and obviously 49er fans take a liking to him as well. I haven't gotten a chance to watch him like that, so I guess I can't really say. I liked Ben Sinnott a lot, and he went to Washington quite early, actually.
Yep.
But I was like, when I saw him, I was like, he looks like the Niners would love him. And lo and behold, Adam Peters takes him. Again, to your point from earlier, like you've seen so many 49er execs move on to other teams, so many former 49er coaches move on to other teams, and they all kind of like the same kind of players. So then you see a lot of those guys get taken away. And we talked about the 49ers sitting on their hands a bit. So these other teams are being aggressive for some of these guys.
Rich Madrid, Rich, he's always watching film. He is tweeting out. I think that's all he does. He's tweeting out some of Renardo Green's coverage snaps against Malik Neighbors, and he says biggest takeaway is his ability to stay in phase with Neighbors. Didn't even cut together the reps versus Brian Thomas Jr. That's obviously a good sign, like you said, but also there are just some matchups where for whatever reason one guy happens to own another guy, even if they're not really on the same level athletically. For example, I used to work at ESPN with a corner that played for the Raiders, Eric Allen. I believe Eric Allen is the guy that forced the fumble on Brady on the tuck rule play. And he was a good player, not like a scrub by any means, but just a good player. He said he never had any problem going up against Jerry Rice. He was like, look, when I played, he never had any good game against me. I have no idea why other people struggled with him. For whatever reason, I was always able to keep him under control. Sometimes that happens. I'm not saying that's what's happening with Renardo Green, but I need more than just, hey, he played really well against these top receivers before I'm like, great, this guy can for sure play.
I thought the example you were going to say is Daniel Brunskill, like
Oh,
locking up Aaron Donald every freaking chance he got. I mean, yeah, I think there could be something to that. It just defies all logic, right?
right.
And all things that make sense, but it could happen as we've seen.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing, obviously, but I'm saying I just need more than that before I'm willing to, exhale, so to speak, when it comes to the pick. 49ers and NFL News says someone check on Rich Eisen. All these Michigan players being taken in the draft has got him crazy with the mic.
Yeah, it's been the Michigan day, man.
McCarthy, Chris Jenkins, Mike Sanderstill, Junior Colson, Blake Corum, Roman Wilson. What's that? 4, 5, 6 guys? Damn. No wonder Jim Harbaugh won the national championship.
Right? Did you say Jenkins?
Yes, I did. I think I did anyway. Did the 49ers just trade up? Are they on the clock?
I don't know.
Yes, Tom Pelissero says the 49ers have traded up. They are on the clock.
What could they be getting here?
Come on.
All right, well, let me do a quick look at who's available. It wouldn't shock me if the 49ers went Cedric Gray here. He's a linebacker that, I think they took a liking to. They could also be getting a tight end. I mean, we literally just saw one of the tight ends go. So they could be feeling like they need to make a move. It could be Adisa Isaac, like I said, edge who is there as well.
Yeah, I don't know who to hope for now.
Options.
You got me.
DJ Tampa is still there too from Iowa State, the corner. Also corner from Notre Dame, Cam Hart. Brendan Rice. Brennan Dorless out of Oregon.
Brendan Rice. No, Brendan Rice. Do not trade.
I am just mentioning names, Rob.
Luke McCaffrey. If you're going to mention a receiver, go Luke McCaffrey. Hell,
I'm not saying the 49ers are going to pick them. I'm just mentioning names that are available.
They traded with the Eagles, who continue to stockpile picks, but whatever. I don't care. I don't even care what they gave up, honestly, at this point. Like, assuming as long as they didn't give up any picks next year, like, give up all the picks you have left. I don't care. You got to use these damn picks.
So the 49ers get 86, Eagles get 94 and 132.
Great. That's fantastic. I could care less about those picks. With 132, did you say that's the Trey Lance pick that they got from the Cowboys?
One of the round 4 picks.
Matt Mayoko was saying they wanted to get rid of that pick.
Yeah. So 90. What pick is this? What did I just say? 86.
Is it 86?
Yep. So they moved up.
Yep, 86. I don't know who the Browns pick is in. They're ahead of the Niners. I haven't seen that either. What if it was Luke McCaffrey? Would you be mad?
Right now? I'd be a little mad. This is way too early, I think, for him.
It's got to be offensive line, right? I mean, come on, Tanner Bartolini. Let's go.
Dude, if we got Tanner right here, I'd be stoked. I'd be freaking stoked.
Let's see it.
Come on.
There's a lot of hope for Jatavian Sanders from Texas. Technic Chic says, don't speak Brendan Rice into existence, Steph.
I wasn't. I just said his name. He's like the don't say his name in front of a mirror.
Yeah.
He will appear.
If you say it 3 times and turn around or go outside a bit. What about Eric All? He's a tight end from Iowa. I know he's had some injury issues, but he's another name I've heard.
That's my concern, right? The injury issues. Obviously, I think there's potential there. He is similar to Kittle, like wasn't in an offense, obviously, in Iowa that like featured him as a pass catcher. Great blocker. So, you have that going for you. But the injury issues is something I don't know if I can really get excited about just because like Kittle has injury issues. I would like someone who doesn't. Cam Latu, like he had the injury last year. We're still waiting to see what him and Braden Willis could turn into. I don't want another guy that we're unsure of.
Looks like, if I'm seeing this right.
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's go.
The pick that the 49ers have traded up to get, which I believe is what, 86? The San Francisco 49ers selected Kansas offensive tackle Dominic Pooney, and you seem extremely excited. Tell me why we should be smiling.
I think he was, as far as the tackles who were available here, he was definitely one of the guys who, is a good pick at this point, given who's still available. I think I just repeated myself, but look, I think I've seen people say that he might be more of a guard, which goes back to my point and maybe even goes back to John Lynch's point that, there are some guys who can play guard and tackle. So maybe they told us a little bit about this pick or what they were thinking before they actually made the selection, right? So I think he could be a guard. And yeah, I mean, he was a tackle at Kansas, obviously, but maybe in a pinch he could play some tackle as well.
Yeah, Lynch did say that on Monday. Every once in a while, you get like 30 to 40 seconds of pure, unvarnished truth out of John Lynch's mouth. And I thought that was one of the most interesting things that he said. Again, this is from Dane Brugler's draft guide, 6'5, 313 pounds. So he's a big boy for sure. Workable frame with upper body strength, fires his large hands to deliver a pop at contact, able to control and steer defenders in the run game once he gets his hands on them. Quick out of his stance with the foot speed and agility to reach his pulling landmarks, doesn't panic and stays on schedule to seal/bury moving targets. I like that. Weaknesses, high cut and carries some excess weight in the middle, doesn't have ideal arm length or lateral range to cut off the rush. His high pad level leaves him susceptible to getting pulled off balance. I've seen a lot of guys with high pad level. He's hardly the only guy in there. But like you were literally dancing when you saw this pick.
Well,
So
because I wanted them to pick an offensive lineman too. So I think if it could have been almost any offensive lineman, I would have been really excited. But Pooney was one of those guys that throughout this process was kind of someone that me and a lot of other 49er fans have kind of felt like he's someone the 49ers could get later. So if they don't prioritize it, which I think to some extent we were kind of expecting, he can be a guy that, they definitely target. So I this makes sense.
Shout out to Brisbee Life. The Twitch fam says they announced him as a guard at the podium. There's an opportunity there. I mean, like you said, it's unlikely that he's going to start, but like you got to outplay John Feliciano. That's not, an insurmountable task. And I like this from Marshall Mello, who says wide receiver, offensive line, corner so far in the draft. Sorry, haters. The Niners are drafting on need and not hype. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, which they do. And their needs are different than what we feel their needs are, right? Because some 49er fan would probably see that tweet and be like, no, tackle was their biggest need, right? But yet they're picking it with their third pick. Still pretty high, just maybe not as high as some people thought or hoped, right? So, that being said, yeah, I mean, the 49ers usually do that to us. And what they consider a need, very different than what we do. How they rank their needs, very different than how we do. So, I guess it's not really a surprise. Again, I'm just happy they're addressing the offensive line at all. Like I said, I think guard, and yes, right guard is a position that he does play. I think that's something that they knew they needed. So I think Pooney on day 2, and I'm retweeting stuff, Rob, if you want to start putting it up. Like I'm excited about it.
Whenever you get down on a draft pick, just follow at Steph49K on X. She will boost you up.
I'm gonna try to hype them up via these retweets, again, from people who are smarter than me.
We started talking about how they're not showing urgency on the offensive line and blah, blah, blah. And they traded up for an offensive lineman. Now they must think there's not that big of a difference between Dominic Pooney and a Roger Rosengarten, who, was taking one spot ahead of them. Because if they really thought there was, they would have moved up to get Rosengarten. So I guess, look, I'm sure we'll hear from them later tonight, but they're going to say, we got everybody we wanted and we're perfect. And if Green is as good as a lot of people think, then this could be a very, very good day for the 49ers.
Yeah, and still to this point, no 30 visit players have been drafted. So not a good day for, me in my agenda. But, in any case, I've been pretty happy with the picks so far, I have to say. And this, to me, it course corrects the draft, because I was a little uncertain about the 49ers not addressing tackle in the second round, especially because it was in the middle of a big tackle run. And up to this point, it was a tackle run, offensive linemen's going off the board left and right. But to me, this kind of makes all that go away. It almost doesn't matter what happens the rest of the draft. I'm
Wow.
just kidding. I'm just kidding. It does matter, absolutely. But I think I'll think like it's exactly what I was saying. Like I think I don't have to project me being upset that the 49ers didn't take an offensive tackle to any of the other draft picks because now that's off the board. I feel happy with the first three picks because they did address the three biggest needs the 49ers had going into this draft. And so now that's why I feel great about any other pick that they make because now you're just kind of I don't want to say dart throw because I don't like the 49ers doing dart throws, but I think the 49ers just need to get best player available from this point on, no matter what position it is. And I would feel pretty great about it.
So we talked about Renardo Green and his excellent comments and how good he was behind the microphone. Here's Dominic Pooney that you retweeted.
Oh,
Quote,
let's go.
I'm athletic and versatile. No matter how I do the job, I'm going to get it done. It doesn't always look pretty. That's my approach to every single rep to get the job done by any means necessary. That is an offensive lineman quote if I have ever heard one.
I love that he says it doesn't always look pretty. Like, I just love someone that knows himself that well to be able to say that, but still has the confidence that it's going to get the job done regardless. So, yeah, I'm excited, Rob. I feel good about it. How are you feeling? Because I don't know if you kind of
Well, like you said, it does make the Green pick feel a little easier. I think there were a lot of circumstances, right? The fact that Rosengarten got taken one pick before, the fact that they didn't trade up, then the fact that they traded down with Kansas City, the team that beat them in the Super Bowl, and then didn't take an offensive lineman at all with that pick. There were a lot of things that got you frustrated. We probably were too frustrated in the moment. Let's be honest. I think we can admit that. I don't know how good this guy is, but I like the fact that he didn't give up a single sack last year. That makes me smile.
Impressive. Yeah, that definitely is impressive. And yeah, the positional versatility that that we were talking about. And the 49ers like to have that out of their offensive linemen, which I think is also part of the reason why a lot of their offensive linemen aren't like, aside from Trent, obviously, aren't these like all pro guys, is because a lot of them are jack of all trades, master of none. Especially like the depth guys that they have. So hopefully Pooney can find a spot at the next level that is his and only his. And it's also good to know that if you need him in a pinch somewhere else, he could do that. Center as well as tackle, like I said. So, again, he could play pretty much anywhere on the line. So we'll see what the 49ers have to say about this pick afterwards, because they do usually tell us about where they envision their offensive linemen. It isn't usually where they played in college, which sometimes drives me nuts. But in this case, I think Pooney, because he has experience at all those positions in college, I think it's fine. Sometimes you see those cases where they have a guy who didn't play that position in college, but because of his, size and profile, they say, we're just going to move him. And so that's why those guys need extra time to develop, because they're learning a new position, or they're switching sides, a different side that they played in college, which is a lot more difficult than people realize to be able to do and learn. So I'm excited about this one, Rob. I feel good. To me, this is a good ending to the 49ers day 2. Can you see them moving back into the third, or do you feel like they're probably done for the day?
No, I could see them moving back into the third because they still have too many picks. Right now, they still have pick 24 in the 4th round, pick 35 in the 4th round, pick 38 in the 5th round. They have 2 4ths, 2 5ths, a 6th, and a 7th. Because remember, they got an extra 5th from the Chiefs when they did that deal. I could see them moving up again, especially when John Lynch said earlier this week that the back of this draft is not as deep as in years past, because a lot of more people are staying in school now because of the NIL money that's there. So if you don't think the draft is that deep in the back end, screw them picks, man. Keep going. Get somebody else. Get my boy Tanner Bortolini, baby. Let's go. You can take more
why not stop at one offensive lineman when you can have 2? I mean, yes, I've seen people say you do need to find your next replacement at center. The thing
Mhm.
with that is Kyle Shanahan has never started a center, like a rookie center. It's always been a veteran guy. Part of that, has to do with the experience needed to be able to set the protections in his,
His offense.
complex system. So I don't know. I don't know if he'd go Bortolini. If he did, like, he'd probably sit at least a year, maybe two, until Kyle feels confident enough that he can step up. Man, the Cardinals just got Elijah Jones out of Boston College, corner, good corner as well. So again, Cardinals making some nice moves, I think.
NFC West, man, having a strong day. Um, we had said, I think Javi said yesterday that he thought the 49ers needed to get 4 starters out of this draft. I think that's that would be a grand slam of a draft for me. I think you needed to get 2 starters out of this draft. I know it's early. I know they've only made 3 picks. I'll put it to you this way. Do you think they found 1 starter so far in this draft?
Yes, I think they found at least one. It's crazy what having a first round pick will do for your team and having a second round pick will do for your team, right? It's crazy.
Imagine that. It's so much easier to find those guys when you actually have picks early in the draft. 2 starters would be fantastic. Pearsall, I
Yeah.
think, will probably end up being a starter, even if he ends up being the number 3 wide receiver. That's basically a starter nowadays anyway. So that could be good. We'll see about Green. If Green is good, maybe he can develop one day into one. Um, that alone would be good. But just get league average guys. Please. Just no whiffs. No Trey Sermons, no Danny Grays. Like, just get guys that can contribute in some way, even if it's only on special teams, something, because there have been too many whiffs, and that's what's really hurt the depth on the team.
Rob, I just retweeted another doozy. You're familiar with Brandon Thorn, I take it?
I am.
So, offensive line guru and analyst Brandon Thorn had a scouting report on Dominic Pooney. He actually calls him one of my guys of this draft. And he said he should start at some point this season for the 49ers. He loves the pick and the value at 86 overall. And then he also included some clips. It's part of his Substack, so you'd have to actually, I'm assuming subscribe. But for Brandon Thorn to, back up this pick makes me feel incredibly good. And this is what I mean about people smarter than me. And in this case, a guy who studies offensive linemen, saying something about one of the 49ers draft picks. Yeah, I'm going to feel good about it and I'm going to share it. Right. So, again, to this point, I feel pretty good about the 49ers draft. It's crazy what just like the one pick can do to like change my entire perception of how this draft pans out. Almost like last year, the draft felt tainted because the 49ers took Jake Moody. Like, yes, they got Jair Brown, but god damn it, they got Jake Moody in the third as well. Like, that's all you can think about. So it kind of just jaded the entire picture. Right now, I'm feeling like it's the opposite with the 49ers taking an offensive lineman and what seems to be a really solid one.
I think I was the only person that was unbothered by the 49ers taking Jake Moody last year.
You were like completely unbothered.
Well, I felt like they needed one, and if he's good, it wouldn't have mattered. And looking back on it now, knowing what you know about Jake Moody, do you feel any differently about the pick, or do you still think it was a mistake? I mean, I saw that man drill a 55-yard
no, I
field.
know. Like it's not that the pick was a mistake. It's where he was picked. Like, but I'm with you. It matters less if he ends up panning out. What people were so hung up on is that kickers who get drafted that high never pan out. Now, he had a really good rookie season. I don't know about other kickers. Like, I know who's the other guy who, the Tampa Bay guy who went, I think, in the third or the fourth, and he didn't get a second contract, obviously. And I don't know how his rookie season went, but
Oh, he got cut, I think.
Yeah, so I don't think it was as strong as Moody's. Like Moody wasn't bad. He definitely was bad. He had some shaky moments, which I think we could have expected for literally any rookie kicker, no matter where he was, that guy would be drafted. But I didn't realize my mic was so far. But I think it's fine. I'm as long as he's good, I don't care.
Right. That's the thing. If they're good, it ultimately doesn't matter. But
Yeah, Guayo, there you go.
Roberto, yeah, I forgot about his name because that's how bad he was. We literally forgot his name.
I knew it was something like Arroyo. See, close enough. I knew it was like a Hispanic name or, a Latin last name.
Oh, I thought you, I thought you said Aladdin last name. You've said
Oh, Aladdin.
like
No.
okay.
Like Aladdin?
Right.
No, the movie?
A whole new world over here on the pod. I shorted
Man.
Dominic Cooney, by the way. I said he didn't give up a sack last year. That's true. He actually didn't give up a sack in his last 25 straight starts, and that's playing at both tackle and guard. So that's just even more encouraging food for thought with Dominic Cooney.
Okay. I have one more for you. So and this was one that KP just tweeted that of course I retweeted. So 49ers first round pick, Parasol was a 5th-year senior. Bernardo Green, 5th-year senior. Dominic Pooney, 6th-year senior. So these guys have a lot of experience under their belt. And that's kind of it's part of the benefit of like that weird COVID season that like you can get guys who did stay in college an extra year or so and have this experience to show for it. I mean, maybe they realize with how they got lucky with Brock Purdy that maybe it wasn't so lucky because like the experience he had is really what set him apart to be able to perform in the NFL level and be able to come in and just be able to do what he did immediately. So I think the logic is pretty sound if that's part of what they're trying to look for here. Also with Pooney, I'm trying to see if there are any injury issues. The only thing I see is 2021. He missed the final 9 games with the left knee injury. He was a medical red shirt that year. That's the only thing I see for him. Again, that was 2021.
Yeah, he
Um,
tore his
it was
MCL.
a torn MCL. Yeah, okay, in the second game. Okay, so that's really the only thing. And aside from that, like the guys have been like it hasn't been. None of these guys have had like huge injury red flags or had big history of injuries or anything like that. So I think that's another thing like that they maybe want to emphasize.
I almost wonder if you mentioned the veteran kind of experience that they've drafted. I almost wonder if maybe the Niners are thinking because they've had all that experience, they'll be able to contribute earlier than maybe some younger players would have. So
They
maybe
have to.
right. Maybe they're
They have
recognizing
to.
that is my point. Like maybe they're realizing like we need no more red shirts. Like we need guys that can do
Yeah.
something right away.
Yeah, and look, I get the logic of them taking developmental picks when they were because their roster was so deep. They had no like real big needs. So it was like, yeah, you could take some swings. And if you miss, it doesn't matter because you have the same starters that you did before, you know. But now they're in this fork in the road again where they're gonna have to build from the ground up again for a lot of these positions. And so you're looking at your foundational pieces of the future of, the next I don't know, turning of the what's a phrase? It's like turning of the page. I don't know. Whatever cliche you want to use. I think that's what the 49ers are preparing for. And you need guys who are ready to play right now. So experience matters. Not having uh injury questions about them matters because you need these guys to be reliable, right? So I think it's something the 49ers were able to do when they first Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch first started this regime, brick by brick. They got kind of have to go back to that, right? And so also you need to be able to have guys who you feel good having as depth pieces for a year. Like they need to be better than your depth pieces today. And even if they don't start this year, they need to be ready next year, like without a doubt. And so they need to beat out some veterans. So yeah, I think all this experience and all these like NFL ready guys is great for them.
I think it's pretty clear. I mean, the old guard, Kittle, Debo, McCaffrey's getting up there. You know, Armstead was part of that. He's no longer here. Kinlaw was part of that. He's no longer here. Jimmy Ward is gone. Tart is gone. Like they have begun to transition to the new guard, the new blood, whatever you want to say. And it's Brock. It's Ayuk, assuming he gets a contract, which I think at this point we can safely assume Brock or Ayuk and Debo are both going to be back for next year. So it's going to be Brock. It's going to be Ayuk. It's going to be Bosa. It's going to be Warner. And you need now some guys to go along with that. If you're going to keep your roster at the elite point in the conference and in the league that it has been at, now is the time. I keep saying it. If you want to look at why good teams get bad and why bad teams get good, it's the same answer. The draft. When you screw up your draft, that's how the 49ers went from kicking everybody's ass with Jim Harbaugh to being an absolute joke because Trent Baalke just biffed draft after draft after draft. Why did the Seahawks suddenly get good? Look at their drafts, and they drafted all those LOB players, and they kicked the 49ers' ass for a decade. So this has got to be it now. You've been able to hold it off because you've got really good players, but you can't do that forever. So it's now or never, and hopefully it's now. A lot of people seem to think it could be with some of the picks they've made.
So apparently, Dominic Pooney is speaking with the media right now. He said he visited the 49ers a couple of weeks ago, and they said they plan to use him more on the interior of the line. So there you go. He was a visit. There were 4 unreported visits that we didn't have before the draft. I think John Lynch mentioned that they had 29, about 29 total. They didn't have the full 30. So 4 that we didn't know. So Dominic Pooney was one of them. So I'm back, baby. We're back in business.
I do think that your tracking of that and reporting on that has the 49ers have noticed. I think 49ers beat writers have noticed. I really do think that, Steph. I think that you have had a palpable effect on that. I know the 49ers definitely keep an eye on what some content creators are doing. Not me. I'm just going to flat out say, not me. They know you from the Bosa impression. What's happening? You okay?
My light was just really bright because my laptop was covering it before. So it's like staring at the sun for a second. Sorry.
Okay. Well, anyway, long story short, thank you for keeping track of all the visits. And I do think that beat writers have noticed, and I think the team has noticed as well. So we appreciate that.
I mean, I appreciate that. I love tracking this stuff. And like I'm sure the 49ers hate that I do it, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised like someone hasn't emailed me to like stop. But I think it's fun. I think to me it's like about educating ourselves about what the 49ers may do. It's so fascinating to me. Like I just want to kind of have an idea of what they might do. I want to be able to see trends and things like that. So obviously the visit thing was a trend that I picked up on with this regime, and I've kind of hung on to that. It's not everything, right? Like, they could change their trend one year. But it's cool. It's cool to see like a trend and see it play out as well in real time for another draft. So we've got one of the 30 visits who got drafted to the Niners. And so again, for the people who say visits don't matter,
they do.
I disagree.
And sometimes they're doing it for undrafted free agents that they want to go after the draft.
Dude, there's a lot. There's a lot of guys who are like priority free agents that they brought in for visits. And you might think to yourself, like, why would they do that? For one, because the team has so many opportunities to meet with like guys who will be available in the first 3 rounds via the combine, via the Senior Bowl, Shrine Bowl. Like those guys are everywhere. throughout the offseason, and you'll get chances to meet them in other forms. But, some of those later round guys, you don't always get those opportunities because they don't always get invites to those bowl games or the combine. So you kind of need to bring them in to be able to get a better sense of who they are. Maybe you meet them at their pro day, things like that. But also medicals could be a reason why you bring them in, because then you can test them against your internal doctors and all that. So medicals could be another reason why you bring a prospect in, besides just like being interested in the player. It's just another form of due diligence. But again, I do think the 49ers see it as a really important evaluation step for some of those guys. If there are any questions they have on any of them, at least that's a sense I get just based on, again, the themes and trends that I see. So, I think it's important. By the way, the Ravens just got Adisa Isaac. The draft has been falling perfectly for the freaking Baltimore Ravens, and they have been sitting on their hands as well, but they are getting paid for it. They're getting lucky with some of the guys that have fallen to them. The 49ers, Rosengarten going literally the pick right before them. They didn't get so lucky there. But God, damn, like the Ravens don't need to get any better either, and they're just getting all these good picks.
They still have the MVP at quarterback too. Just throwing that out there. Well, Wedge Antilles says all of our picks so far feel like grinder type players. I totally agree. That is clearly something that's important to the 49ers. They prioritize it. They go after these guys specifically. There's a reason this team has been able to play the way it plays for so long. I love it. It makes it so fun to watch. It scares me when it comes to injuries, but it is fun to watch, I have to say. I wanted to throw this tweet up from Kyle Posey, talking about the pick whose last name, Pooney. Dominic Pooney says he brings a physical demeanor with excellent effort to finish through the whistle, can play offensive tackle on a pinch. KU ran behind Pooney 47% more than any interior offensive lineman in the class, and Pooney averaged 3.5 yards before contact, which is also tops among the interior offensive line in the draft class. He allowed 4 pressures in 2 seasons. I'm feeling better and better about this guy, Steph.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Man. And yeah, I think it's good value at this point in the draft. So the 49ers weren't wrong to wait, and we were kind of begging the 49ers to trade up for someone that they want. Well, the trade up for Pooney seemed to indicate that was someone that they did want and they had circled on their board. So, I think they did us right with this one, I have to say. And so it seems like based on the presser that the team has had, it seems like he'll be playing again in the interior, which I think is a need. They can get better at both guard spots if we're being honest. I mean, Banks has been serviceable, but he's on the final year of his contract, isn't he?
I think that's correct. Yes.
So
I think
that's also a need right there.
They're not paying him. I think they know it by now.
No, I mean, dude, the guard market this offseason was egregious. I mean, yeah. So bring more it wouldn't even shock me if the 49ers get another guard maybe in this draft.
Yeah, I would support that, and I agree, because Banks might not be there. Lynch at the end, talking about the end of the second round, which we talked about it as it was happening, was sort of not great for the 49ers. We know Rosengarten went. Lynch said, quote, with Rosengarten going to Baltimore and Kingsley going to Kansas City and Green going to the 49ers, Lynch said, we had a group of players that we liked. Roger was one of them, but San Francisco was very happy selecting Green. Of course they was, because every team says, we're so happy we got the guy. No team's ever going to say, like, oh, we missed out on a guy. But yeah, you can't really complain about Kingsley going to the Chiefs, though, because you let that happen. Rosengarten was taken from you. You traded back with the Chiefs.
Yeah, no, they didn't care about picking Kingsley. Like, that's all that told us. The 49ers knew that the Chiefs would pick him, and they didn't care. So,
John Lynch said of potential trade talks involving Debo and Ayuk today, we didn't entertain any of that today. We're happy with our wide receiver group, actually, more than happy. We're thrilled with it and thrilled to add Ricky to make it stronger. Interesting. I mean, yesterday at the end of the day, they went out of their way to talk about how they were open to a deal. They went out of their way to say, we never take a trade off the table, all that stuff. Today, they're saying we didn't entertain any of it. Who knows if it's true, but it appears right now, as of 11:09 p.m. Eastern time, Steph, Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk are 49ers, and it's going to stay that way.
I'm good with that. I think the 49ers were good with that too. They just kind of wanted to see if any teams were interested. I mean, I think it was probably those teams calling the 49ers first, initiating the contact, just kind of seeing what it would take. The 49ers, of course, listening, dangling another team's offer in front of another team. Would you offer more kind of thing, just gauging the market a little bit. But, I always kind of figured the likely scenario would be Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel playing out this season together. Now, after 2024, that's a different story, right? That's where I think the possibilities really open up. Especially for Deebo. I think the writing is on the wall, especially seeing how this offseason played out. I wasn't even expecting the 49ers to entertain any trade or have any trade conversations about Deebo this offseason. So the fact that they happened this offseason only confirms my thought that next year he's gone.
The only problem with that is next year he's a year older and maybe has more injuries this year too. The return on him is going to be not anything special. If they even trade him, maybe they cut him. Who knows? We'll have to see.
Yeah.
Interesting too that John Lynch said we didn't entertain offers for Deebo and Ayuk today. I think it's pretty clear they were listening. Shout out to the almost 2,300 people that are watching right now. Thank you so much. Please like and subscribe to the Gold Standard Podcast Network YouTube channel. Like and subscribe to the 49 Carats YouTube channel. That's Steph's YouTube channel as well. I promise it'll make you a better, smarter fan. We here at the Gold Standard are live every single weekday for you and on weekends when stuff goes down. Anytime things happen, we are here from you. So please like and subscribe. Click the bell so you get notified every time we go live. I promise you, you give us some of your time, we will continue to earn it here. I'm just scanning the rest of the comments from Kyle and John to see if there was anything else that I wanted to get to, because we have been going for a solid.
I think they just I think they're going live right now. I just got a notification. First, it was Pooney.
Yeah, I can't stream it, unfortunately. They expressly forbid us from streaming the press conference live. I would love to do it, because I'd love to be able to react in real time. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do it. But it sounds like the 49ers are done. Obviously, you're not doing the press conference unless you're done for the day. Right. Clearly they are, even though there's 4 picks left in the third round. And I believe tomorrow, what time does it kick off tomorrow? Noon?
Yeah, something like that. Noon Eastern, right? I think
I'm Eastern. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, noon Eastern. So that's pretty early. 9 for West Coast, really?
I don't know. I could be wrong. It used to start at noon back in the day. I'm old school. I remember when
it still does. I don't know. Yeah, man. This is crazy. I'm happy. I'm happy with the draft. I'm not in a bad mood, so this is good. Yeah, noon Eastern. Thank you, Technic Chic. Yeah, one time for the East Side. The East Side folks, staying up late once again. Shout out the East Side folks.
Niners and Giants says the selection of Pooney makes the selection of Pearsall more palatable. And, that's something that you kind of have to balance if you're the 49ers in the draft room, because, they know what people are going to say and they know what their needs are. But they held true. They were saying, hey, we're not going to force the offensive lineman. We're going to go with Pearsall. We're still addressing a need. And they did it. And right now it looks, again, like the 49ers day 2 was a pretty solid day 2.
And shout out Tariq Stewart in the chat as well via Twitter. He is one of the NFL prospects in this year's draft, the JUCO kid. So good luck to you, man. And hopefully, maybe the 49ers, take you at some point, man. You just never know. They can't have enough, linemen. So
Hell yeah.
mostly,
I
yeah,
want to
hell
know
yeah.
what's that day like for you tomorrow? That's got to be so nerve-wracking. I'm sure you got the phone battery charged up, ready to go, right? Because can you imagine if you missed that call? Like, what did
You
they just
can't miss the call, Rob. Like you got like I'd be glued, to the phone.
Well, did you look as we've known, Steph, from hard experience, not every 49er is attached to their phone in the offseason. I don't know if you saw Ricky Pearsall said he's already talked to Brock Purdy, to which I tweeted out, nice to see a 49ers quarterback that can find his phone in the offseason. I'll
Jeez.
never
Right.
stop.
Yeah.
I'll never
Hey,
stop.
I'm excited about the fact those two are both from Arizona. Pearsall hinted like, yeah, we'll probably get to throw a lot, or have throwing sessions, workout sessions together in Arizona. I'm excited about that. So yeah, Tariq Stewart said he's dressing like a kid on his second Christmas. I gotta imagine it's pretty crazy feeling.
What did I say earlier? I hate uncertainty, right? I mean, you can't get much more uncertainty than what's happening right now. Like, that is just, you're sitting there, you're watching the TV, and like day 3, the picks come fast. They don't even show all
Yeah,
the picks on
that's what I'm
TV.
saying.
So, like, you may get picked, and the only way you know is if you got that phone. That's why I bet you there's a backup phone somewhere. Please tell me you have a backup phone somewhere. I would guarantee it that there's more than one phone. You can't rely on one. There has to be a backup, and hopefully a backup on a different carrier too. That would be really the way to go if you're going to get crazy about it. That's what
Just
I would
got
do.
yeah, I mean, you can never be, too sure, but yeah, I mean, offensive linemen, I definitely would love if the 49ers got more of those throughout this draft, so yeah, best of luck to you, Tariq, and hopefully you have your name called at some point.
100%.
Oh, but Rob, what are you doing, the rest of today?
The rest of today, it's 11 o'clock at night, Steph. I'm going to finish this show. I'm going to make it into an audio podcast for our listeners. Then I'm going to
A
watch all the.
2-hour show? Are you gonna like pare it down?
No, you get the full Monty, baby. That's what we're doing. I'll probably make some shorter videos for the YouTube channel. Um, I'm going to go through the press conferences and pick out the good quotes from both players or from all the players, because I'm going to post those on the YouTube channel as well. I got a full night of work ahead of me, Steph. We're no in sleep here.
Rob always grinding, man. He's one of the best in the biz. But yeah, I'm probably gonna go live on my channel just to do a quick reaction of the picks from today. And probably go to sleep after
Oh,
that.
sure. Now that you know all the picks are in, you're going to do it on your channel. Fancy. No, you're a
Well,
grinder.
that's what I did yesterday, right? And
I
so
saw
on my channel, because I was like simulcasting this one, so I was live on 2 different videos technically, but I wasn't on yours anymore. So people were probably like, like, why is this on her channel?
Hey, we're taking over. That's what's happening. But anyway, thank you to everybody for watching and for all the comments and the super chats. We really appreciate it. Again, please like and subscribe to both YouTube channels, the Gold Standard YouTube channel and the 49 Carats YouTube channel. You will be a better, smarter fan. I promise you. Steph, you are the absolute best for giving me 2 hours of your night. I could not have done this without you.
Appreciate you, Rob. It was fun, man. It was a lot of fun. Again, I'm feeling better right now. The vibes are immaculate. So hopefully the vibes keep going this way into tomorrow as well.
Tanner Bartolini tomorrow, damn it. Make it happen, 49ers. That or Jaheim Bell or both. Why not? Let's go for both.
I want
Enjoy
Javon Baker as well, another wide receiver. Or Luke McCaffrey. We'll take that too.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, Luke would be fun too at this point. Why not? The cherry on top of the draft Sunday. Have a good night, everybody.